Today, the city of Albuquerque is set to continue its investigation into a city worker who may have been wasting city time on your dime. Sources tell us a solid waste supervisor has been using his city email account for not one, but two side jobs. We are not naming him because the city just launched its investigation, but we are told the man works as the athletic director for a private school and as an assistant girls basketball coach at a public high school. The city wants to know if the supervisor used his city email account for his other jobs and if he did that on city time.
Doing that work in lieu of your city work. I mean, when you're here on city time, it's expected that you'll do city business. So it's a double whammy potentially.
Depending on what the investigation finds, the worker could face a range of punishment.
We now know what led a state police officer to fatally shoot a man in Clovis on Sunday. Investigators say Officer Brian Connor had a gun pointed directly at him. The ordeal started when officials say Connor tried to pull over a suspect for speeding. The suspect gave way to a chase. They say the suspect, Benjamin Salgado, eventually ditched his car and took off on foot. Well, police say Salgado pulled out a gun and pointed it at the officer, and that's when they say that the officer Connor shot him 3 times. Salgado was wanted for being a felon in possession of a firearm and drug dealing. Right now, investigators are still trying to figure out what led to the weekend murder of a Durango college student. 26-year-old David Jones was camping with a friend near Henderson Lake. Deputies say the suspect, Brendan Ashburn, showed up to the campsite and opened fire. Ashburn was camping alone nearby. Deputies believe this was a random act and that Ashburn did not know the victim.
A man wanted in Nebraska for a murder from more than 3 decades ago is now in jail here in New Mexico. Border agents say they found this man, Oscar Rosario Hernandez, in a remote area near Lawrenceburg on Friday and realized he was wanted for that murder in Omaha back in 1980. Hernandez is an illegal immigrant, and agents think he was trying to cross back into the U.S. from Mexico. He'll stay here until he can be extradited to Nebraska.
An autopsy is being performed this morning on an Ohio man who died hiking in northern New Mexico. The Rio Arriba County Sheriff's Department says 25-year-old William McNeil from Cincinnati was hiking over the weekend near Ghost Ranch headquarters when he fell. A family member told investigators a rock he was standing on broke, causing the fall.
More fallout from a scandal involving the New Mexico Finance Authority, and this will cost taxpayers $1 million. That'll pay for an outside company to do a forensic audit on the department. This is all because of the fake audit from 2011. This is the one that got 2 of the Finance Authority's leaders arrested recently and could affect its ability to get loans and help cities and counties all around New Mexico. But the authority's chief financial strategist doesn't think that'll happen.
Given the overall financial strength of this program, I think there's a very good chance, and based on my conversations with the rating agencies, even a likelihood that we'll be able to maintain our ratings.
Right now, investigators don't think any of the Finance Authority's money is actually missing, but they want to find out for sure. You'll soon see more watchful eyes in the small village of Tijeras because it just agreed to spend $15,000 on cameras to fight crime there. Last night, the village council voted to add 5 cameras to the senior center and 4 here at Luis Garcia Park. Even though Tijeras is quite small, the mayor says the cameras are necessary because of things that have happened at both places recently, some crime there, and because Tijeras is in a busy area between Route 66 and I-40.
We're on the crossroads. Yes, we're not that big of a village, but we do attract a lot of people here.
The cameras are set to get installed next week. It is a massive cleanup that the Air Force has been working on for years, the jet fuel plume that is underground near Kirtland Air Force Base.
And officials say they are making progress, but the feat has not been easy. News 13's David Romero is live in southeast Albuquerque with more on an important meeting that is set for today for concerned residents. Good morning, David.
Good morning, Elizabeth. Well, tonight's Citizen Advisory Board meeting is one they hold about 4 times a year, and this is something that base officials say is critical to hold in order to calm any fears that any residents may have that there may be any chemicals in their drinking water. So far, they say the tests show there are not any chemicals in the production wells that provide drinking water to homes here in the Southeast Heights. Now, the jet fuel from the Air Force Base is believed to have started leaking back in the 1950s from the bulk fuels facility. Now, some estimates have the spill at 8 million gallons of fuel over that time. The only successful way they have been able to get the harmful fuel chemicals from the ground is through soil vapor extraction. At the same time, they've also drilled additional wells to monitor groundwater.
There's obviously a fuel plume underground. Unfortunately, we can't see that, so what we have to do is we have to put wells in different places in order to understand where it is and where it isn't.
And Colonel Lanning says they also pay the Water Utility Authority here in Albuquerque and Bernalillo County as part of that cleanup to monitor those production wells and make sure that there are none of the chemicals from the fuel in there, and to further along the cleanup process. Elizabeth, back to you.
All right, very good to know, David. Very interesting. Thank you. Tonight's neighborhood meeting will be at 6 p.m. at the Cesar Chavez Community Center, where David is, and that is over off of Catherine Southeast. It is an exciting day for the Santo Domingo Pueblo. Crews will break down on a project to rebuild the historic trading post. Built back in the 19th century, the Santo Domingo Historic Trading Post was devastated by a fire back in February of 2001. This is footage of that fire. It left only the adobe walls standing. Now, crews will rebuild the post back to its old self. A groundbreaking ceremony kicks off this morning at 10 at the trading post. That is right by the Kiwa Rail runner station.